We have the draw for the 2027 Rugby World Cup. I think it's an excellent draw. It's fallen really well. It's a really, really exciting tournament coming up. We have so many fixtures that I'm just like, yes, yes, yes. And we also have a path through to the final.
Yes. One of the most exciting things about the pool setup of this, so many rivalries.
Yeah.
And people who've landed in the same pool somehow. Arguably, the two biggest rivalries in Tier 1 men's rugby are New Zealand versus Australia, the Bledisloe Cup, and England against Wales.
So your local rivalries.
Local rivalries, that is, yeah. In terms of, yeah, Northern Hemisphere 1 and the Southern Hemisphere 1.
Yeah.
Both of those landing in pools with each other. That's incredible. You also have Scotland v Ireland,
Yep.
a long-term rivalry, very close rivals with each other. You have Georgia v Romania,
Yep.
a historic one. And for a more contemporary one, Georgia against Italy.
Yeah.
Georgia have outed Italy and Wales as like being their enemies
Yeah.
recently because they're so desperate for that last spot in the Six Nations. Two teams that maybe they're better than, definitely better than one of them in Wales.
Yeah.
You know, touching upon being better than Italy and have beaten them a couple of times recently. So that is a huge occasion for all of those. And yeah, I'm sure there are many more that I've forgotten about as well.
Yeah. And then you look at the whole fiction with so many games that have never taken place on the other end of the scale, right? So Hong Kong, the only Tier 1 nation they've ever played before is Japan.
Yeah.
And so they will be playing New Zealand and Australia for the first time ever.
What a dream for all of those players.
Yeah.
You qualify for the World Cup. Because at that point, right, when you're qualified as the last seed and you're happy to be there, it's your first ever World Cup, first ever Hong Kong qualification in the World Cup, men's World Cup that is, first ever men's World Cup they've been to. And you, at that point, you just want to play against the best. And playing against the mighty All Blacks, the most famous brand in Rugby World Cup, or just rugby history, I guess.
It's the dream.
You can face down the haka.
Yeah.
You know, if you're somebody like, you know, the Cinnamons of the world or the Thierrys of the world who are used to playing international rugby at, you know, the level that got them this far, you can take a step up and play against the Wallabies and the All Blacks. Iconic.
And playing the home nation. So you're playing against a huge crowd. That's really, really exciting.
Packed out stadium.
And Chile, likewise. Chile are going to play the All Blacks for the first time. That's incredibly exciting. Like, as someone that is invested in the growth of the game and rugby becoming more global, I want to see these fixtures. I don't care if they're blowouts. I want to see Chile get the chance to play against the All Blacks and deliver on a few moments. We saw them against England, right? They had a really good first 20 minutes, then England blew them away from there. If Chile can deliver the same thing against the All Blacks, that's like huge. That's history.
So Chile went to the last World Cup. It was their first
They did.
last men's World Cup, 2023. It's their first ever qualification, and they were just happy to kind of be there and to just get through it and enjoy these occasions.
They got the
as you say.
qualification rather than
Yes,
competing.
exactly. Now that this is their second tournament and that they are the third seed in this, so they're not the bottom of the pool, obviously they'll be looking to get a win against Hong Kong, China, who are the bottom of that pool in terms of seedings. Against the All Blacks, what would you consider a good result for Chile at this point?
I think we'll tell in the moment, right? But I want a handful of just moments where you see, okay, brilliant. We've seen, you know, friend of the channel, Raimundo Martinez, he pulls off a huge turnover on Ardi Sarvea.
Yeah.
Or we see, you know, they managed to score a sneaky try around the outside.
Rodrigo Fernandez makes a break.
Yeah,
you know.
he comes back and, you know, they score a try like the one, you know, they scored the World Try of the Year they were given a few weeks ago. Maybe more of that in moments of the year coming the 20-something of December, 22nd most likely, 23rd,
Something like
somewhere
that.
around
Yeah.
there. You know, those moments, or like they did against England, where they kept the score to 0-0 for 20 minutes.
I think that's it. I think if they can look like they belong on the same rugby pitch with the All Blacks for a half, that would be amazing.
So, the other pools, right? We have South Africa. They have been drawn with quite a kind pool and in a very difficult knockout run to make up for it.
Yes. So in the pool, they have been drawn Italy, Georgia, and Romania. So an otherwise all European affair. Again, like I think
kind of
if you
hoping
take
France would land in there.
Yeah. If you take South Africa out of that pool, that is such a spicy pool.
Yeah.
Like it will be gloves off for Italy, Romania, and Georgia because they are all again very close to each other teams who won't want to lose to each other, who, you know, like you kind of feel for Gonzalo Quesada here because he kind of has to put his strongest team out for all three of those games, you know, and then if he gets to the round of 16, he has to carry on that way. I guess Romania, he can maybe
I think you can
tinker quite a bit, but like Georgia, he can't take any chances. And South Africa, he's got to go all out.
This is Italy's real chance to have their best ever World Cup.
Yeah.
And they've never made the knockouts before. This would be huge for them if they can make the round of 16. And then potentially, the thing is, the round of 16 would draw for them. is quite tough. They will likely end up with England if they finish second in this pool.
Yeah.
There are other ways the draw could have fallen where they'd end up with maybe a team like Tonga or Uruguay in the round 16. That hasn't fallen. That hasn't been the case. However, they can still make that stage for the first time ever.
But you would assume that the Springboks are going to romp in this, especially because they can change their 15 every week, including in the knockouts. Like, I wouldn't be surprised in a couple of years if Rassi looks to, between quarter and semi and final, make wholesale changes just because he has that power in his team. And typically in team sports, in the highest stages of World Cups, of Olympic Games or whatever it is, you find your strongest team and you stick with it. You know, you stick with that. But I just think Rassi and these Springboks have kind of reinvented the playbook a little bit because they have such a level of depth and dominance.
Really fun draw for Georgia as well, because they will have been wanting either Wales or Italy, so they can prove on the world stage that they are able to compete and should be at Six Nations level. And they obviously drew Wales last time and the time before, and both times were pretty broadly slaughtered.
Sadly played poorly against them.
Yeah, Italy will be hoping to do the same and kind of see off that challenge for another couple of years. Georgia will be looking for this to be the day they prove they should make the Six Nations.
Every single one of those games is a grudge match for Georgia in a way, because Romania, as a historically their rivals, kind of back in the day, now that Georgia are where they are, Italy are who they're eyeing up, and kind of, I don't know, they want the foot on the throat of Italy a little bit, don't they, to say, like, we deserve that spot, we're better than you. And South Africa, you know, it's the best team in the world. It's your opportunity to go, well, let's put the cat amongst the pigeons here and show how good we can be.
Yeah. Pool C. Argentina, you think, should probably win this. However, in this pool alongside them, they also have Fiji, Spain, and Canada. This is a really fun pool. I think if we're picking out games of the tournament, which we'll do slightly further down the line, one of the ones I look at this I'm instantly most excited for is Fiji versus Spain. They played a few weeks ago. Spain almost beat Fiji. They gave them a real test. You know, it was really like nip and tuck and close until the last sort of 3 or 4, like 5-6 minutes. They can give them a game. You've also got a Spanish-speaking derby between Argentina and Spain, which I'm excited about. They're, again, the only Tier 1 nation Spain played multiple times, Argentina, and I get to reunite with them there.
That's cool.
Which is pretty exciting for them. And then Canada have a chance to come back to the World Cup, and Spain should be a game they can target and go, okay, we can put out a statement here.
Every single game in that pool looks set to be a bit of a bang. Maybe Argentina v Canada will be a blowout, or a couple of the ones like that. But there's something riding on basically every game. Like Argentina v Spain, as you say, there's a classic hit out, and I think it'll be really exciting for Argentina to see what they can string
Chile
together.
in the last World Cup, which was great fun.
Yeah, Fiji v Spain, you mentioned. That is two teams who love to run the ball, particularly if that's not the opening game of each team's campaign. I would particularly enjoy that because I think both of them will let loose a little bit when they know especially what's on the line, like a bit more specifically. Potentially getting Martiniano Cian versus Huitawine Ngolo, which would be one of the matchups of the World Cup. But of
Cian
course,
also playing his kind of nation of origin as well in Argentina.
Of course. But of course, the number one fixture in that pool you have to weigh up is Argentina versus Fiji. Because they are both teams who thrive on unpredictability. With Argentina, they're currently at a point where they are building something really special. But equally, Argentina are capable of having a flat performance and Fiji are capable of just banging out of nowhere. And I think if those two things coincide, this World Cup could get blown wide open.
These are also two teams that don't play each other. Because Argentina don't tend to welcome Fiji on those kind of thoughts.
Feels like such an unlikely. I can't remember these two ever playing before.
So Argentina and Fiji haven't played each other since the 1987 World Cup.
No.
So they haven't played each other since the first World Cup.
Wow.
They played 4 times. Last time, 87, Argentina went on a tour of Fiji.
Ugo Porter was playing in that game.
Yeah.
That's how long ago it was.
So we're looking. This is a historic day, right? That's going to be a huge game.
Yeah.
Like, it's the two biggest nations who just don't play each other.
Also, such a contrasting style of play between the two of them.
But two really open, exciting.
I don't know what that's going to look like.
That's hugely exciting.
Such a novelty in, as I said, that's one of the best matchups of the pool stage. That is. Because, as I say, Fiji are capable of an upset against most teams in World Rugby.
That's one you want tickets to.
Yes.
Pool D then. Another great matchup. Ireland will play Scotland. They've drawn in the last 2 World Cups. This is now 3 in a row. This is getting to borderline Wales-Australia territory.
On West Fiji levels,
Yeah. They're also going to play Uruguay and Portugal. And speaking of games of the tournament, Uruguay v Portugal is one of the games, maybe the game I'm most excited about looking at this group stage.
Providing Portugal sort their act out, I suppose, because Portugal have had a really poor 2025. And you would hope on the basis of the 2023 World Cup and how good they were there, how much they showed up, that, I don't know, them going to a World Cup will give them a bit of a lifeline and hopefully they can get back to playing in that style because they're one of the most entertaining rugby teams. They have so many great players that we know are capable. Like Nicolas Martench was outstanding at the last World Cup. Raffaele Storti, Rodrigo Marta. They've since brought through Ugo Camacho, who's been brilliant for them at 9. I just really hope that they can sort their act out because if we see Portugal at their best, them against Uruguay will be a belter.
I think there'll be a lot of Irish fans who see that and think we beat them by 100 points in the summer. This will be easy. And I think... Look, I wouldn't expect Portugal, as they are at the minute, to, even if they sort their act out, to beat Ireland.
No.
But you think about how much they improved between the 2 years of the year leading into them qualifying, which is the equivalent of now, 2 years out from the World Cup, to them in the World Cup where they beat Fiji. That was monumental. And they've got some changes in coaching coming in. They've got some big changes at the union. You've got to hope this will happen, and it'll be a very different team to the one that played them in the summer. Will turn up at this World Cup, and that's very, very exciting.
Absolutely.
Os Lobos, which I am always hyped for, and then playing Uruguay, who quietly have been going about the business really, really well. They've been building something that I quite like, where it feels less like, Ambrosio, their head coach, since he's come in, has kind of almost just like giving them a confidence and they'll be like, yeah, you're at the standard you deserve and you're now looking to fight upper level rather than fighting to remain at the standards of better tier 2 nations. They're now like, we're going to build it onto being like a Georgia level team rather than the level of that previously.
Very ambitious, aren't they?
Yeah, and I'm feeling that starting to happen. And they have been less talked about because they qualified so early. They haven't had to go through the big qualifying process because they were immediately in as the best American
They're a team
team.
we suddenly now take for granted, which is great.
Yeah.
It's exactly where we want them. And the thing is, in a way, there's no better tier 1 team that they could have been drawn with than Scotland.
Yes.
Because Scotland will be coming to the end of the Gregor Townsend regime, assuming he makes it to the 2027 World Cup, of course. Look, I love this Scotland team. I really want them to do well. On paper, they have a world-class 15. However, they are really capable of hiccuping.
Yeah.
Whether that means even losing games or just not being quite as convincing as you want them to be. And look, before we've recorded this, we've just done a 3.5-hour live stream that is available for you to watch back if you want, our live reactions as this draw was done. And a lot of people in the comments were asking questions like, if you have to pick out an upset that could happen that would be like on Japan 2015 scales, what would it be? And I can't help but look at Uruguay and Scotland and go, that's going to be a closer game than people think.
Yeah, like Uruguay v Italy at the last World Cup, where Uruguay were leading by 10 points at half-time.
Yeah.
Like they can give them the game there.
When Santiago Arata's on a rugby pitch, anything can happen. He's capable of doing anything.
Yeah. Likewise, and we'll get onto the bigger teams who want to go to the knockouts.
Yeah.
But Pool E. Yes. So this is kind of the Jouet pool. France, Japan, USA, Samoa.
Yeah.
And Samoa are by some distance going to be the strongest of the bottom-ranked teams.
Band 4 teams,
because they have a bunch of players coming in. They've just had in the last few days Manu Samoa Tuolangi has said he wants to play for Manu Samoa. You have loads more players. Sean Stevenson says he's considering it.
Yeah.
You have loads of former All Blacks, former Wallabies, former England players who could potentially declare and come into the side.
They've recently had
to help them out.
Scott Seo's come and start playing for them. Jacob Umanga's started playing for them. They've got a lot of quality in there. They've obviously got players that are closer to household names, the likes of Theo McFarlane from Saracens, who is one of the kind of, top percentile of Prem level players, certainly for tier 2 players. The guy is absolutely outstanding, is their captain at the moment. UJ Suteni, who's played all around the top 14, is an utter baller, plays centre or fly half, will probably be like the primary game manager, especially if they do bring in Manu Tuolangi to play in that centre role. Somebody can bounce off.
Marnonu.
If they get in 45-year-old Matt
45 years old, so well in his prime.
That would be a balanced midfield and a half, wouldn't it?
France should win this pool.
Yes, they should.
Japan, though, have an upset in them.
Yeah, again, quite an unpredictable team. They've got Eddie Jones at the helm. He is very ambitious with the style of rugby he's trying to get them to play, this Chisoku rugby, which is meant to be like essentially like what Canada women were playing in the World Cup this year, i.e. the fastest brand of rugby you've ever seen. It's impossible to keep up with. Your eyes can't even keep up with it. However, it's not quite worked so far. Lost to Wales in the autumn, lost to Australia in the autumn. They're not quite there yet, but also Eddie is he is known to be a long-term planner.
Yeah.
He won't try and win things in the short term. He would rather look towards World Cups because they're the big be-all and end-all for Eddie Jones. All he cares about is winning a World Cup.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about winning test matches in between.
He said recently that he isn't really considering some senior players until the lead up to the World Cup to the year of that. So we may see the likes of Kazuki Himeno and so on coming back in in the lead of this tournament.
Additionally, they have a couple of players qualifying for them next year. They've got Oteri Black, Kiwi fly half from the Blues, who was really, really good, like highly thought of provincial level Kiwi rugby player, who's been playing well by all accounts in Japan for the last 5 years. You've got Lachlan Bashir, who from the Chiefs in Super Rugby, really highly thought of, flanker, proper grafter, really good breakdown threat. And you have Vince Arceau is going to qualify for them next year. He's been playing centre in the top league. And again, very exciting the thought of him and Dylan Riley potentially pairing up in the centres for Japan.
Pool F, speaking of Wales, Wales are drawn with England. Vibes of 2015, where obviously Wales put England out of their own World Cup. England are the host this time, and they're also looking quite a bit better than they were in the lead up to that tournament.
And quite a bit better than Wales, crucially.
Yes. So England, Wales, Tonga, and Zimbabwe. As Welsh fans, but both wearing Zimbabwe jerseys to celebrate this historic day, very excited about that matchup.
I've not stopped thinking about that since the draw came out. The fact that we're going to get Edward Sigwake against Lewis Rees-Zammit, that we're going to get Hilton Mudariki against Thomas Williams. That all of these are like such exciting thoughts. So Zimbabwe, for people who don't watch them, we did a video when they qualified talking about their style of play and analysing some of the best players they've got in their team. But they are a really expansive rugby team. They love to work the ball to the edges. They've got some rapid backs. People may be familiar with Tapiwa Mafura from the Lions, who is outstanding in the air, completely fearless fullback. Brilliant player. Ian Pryor as well, they brought in as a fly half. Proper game manager.
Former Australia international.
Yeah, he loves just pelting the ball downfield, but he's playing fly half for them and just managing everything around him. He's kind of the general with Hilton Mudariki, the scrum half, as the captain who manages everything.
Edward Sigwake, the real star on the wing, like incredibly fast but very, very strong winger, like low centre of gravity type winger, like bounces people but incredibly quick.
One of the best try scorers in rugby at the moment.
Yeah. Really, Zimbabwe went the entirety of 2024 undefeated. And
he was a big
been
part
on
of that.
Great form this year, having qualified for the World Cup on the back of that, having really built on that now. Tonga, on the other hand, have the oldest team you've ever seen.
Yes.
You could honestly, there's this movie called Old Scores, which is about like a load of OAPs who used to play for Wales and New Zealand having to do a rematch of that fixture, like 50 years old, now they're all in the 70s. That is basically what the Tonga team looks like. The Tonga team is basically like an OAP team that's called.
They all beat France in 2011 and they're still sticking
now they're still
around.
Here. But with Big Ben in as captain, who himself is still like 34.
Yeah.
But that Tonga team...
So he's one of the younger players.
Again, we mentioned it, could have a few players coming in. You might even have the Vunipolas coming in.
That would be tasty.
You could have Ezra Follow coming back, that prick.
Where's Salesi Pietau? Get him back in.
Yeah. That Tonga team are the slowest team in World Rugby. They play the slowest ruck speed. They also, bones creaking and everything. You're not expecting much on the high end of that.
They have a few guns. They've got Solomon Ikata playing midfield from Leicester Tigers. He's an outstanding player.
But, there is a real core of talent that they can rely on. And they're pretty good at, it sounds awful, but, dragging teams down to their level, And so them playing Wales, there's a chance there, potentially have a go at that.
Very susceptible to
I wouldn't
Wales.
expect it, but I think it's, it's not impossible. England, though, should win this pool. If I was Steve Borthwick, I'd be delighted by the draw.
Yeah.
We'll get to the knockouts in a second, but England probably have, and alongside Argentina, the kindest route through to the final. And they also have a hit out against Wales in the pool stage, so which will be a big rivalry, easy game to get up for emotionally, and physically prepares you for playing the knockouts they're going to face.
Very true.
But it's a game they will likely still win.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect fixture for England to have there. And then you get into the knockouts, and they've got the kindest draw.
Yes. So based on the current rankings, obviously there will be upsets. There will be, misdemeanors in the World Cup. Yeah, we hope. But on current rankings, they would likely get Italy in the round of 16. So whoever comes second in that pool to South Africa, so Italy, Georgia, Romania, that's who they would get in the round of 16.
Could end up being Georgia.
And
could end up being South Africa.
Yeah, it could
after
be.
Romania pull off a heroic win.
Yeah, or they throw the World Cup pool. That won't happen, obviously. Yeah. But also, Russie loves mind games, so maybe he'll suggest that. Anyway, so if they win that, they would go on and likely play Australia, you would think, after their...
Yeah, Australia will likely end up playing one of the third place teams.
Yeah.
So you're looking at potentially Uruguay or Tonga or, the team along that ilk.
Yeah.
And then from there, them kicking on and playing England. And
so England would be in a semi-final there. And
if England beat Australia.
If England beat Australia.
Which on current form you would expect.
You would on current form, but a lot can change in 2 years.
Yes, it can.
Now, the other side of this...
And also you've got to expect, right, Australia are the home team.
Yes.
So that always gives you a little boost.
Yeah, home advantage definitely exists in World Cups for sure. However, again, we're making certain assumptions about the pools and the RO16 here, but there is huge potential for a quarter-final between Ireland and Argentina.
Yes. So Argentina would likely play Japan in the round 16. Then Ireland, you're likely looking at, again, one of those third place qualifiers. So probably Georgia's the most likely, I'd imagine, from just kind of scanning over it.
Sure.
Obviously, permutations, everything can change there. But you would then have those two face each other in the quarterfinal, assuming they both win those games. And that is the really exciting matchup. So this is a proper World Cup exclusive rivalry, really. Like, when they meet generally, it's just another game. When they meet in World Cups, it's a grudge match.
Yeah.
So Argentina knocked them out of the 99 World Cup, the 2007 World Cup, and the 2015 World Cup.
Yeah.
That is 3 of Ireland's worst World Cup finishes, the most painful World Cup finishes, and it is 3 of the 4 times they met in World Cups. Ireland beat them in the 2003 World Cup. Otherwise, in World Cups, it's all Argentina. Now, since Argentina knocked them out in the 2015 World Cup, Ireland have won every game between the two.
Yeah.
Yet, you kind of feel like this is building towards Argentina doing it. And I really like what we're seeing from Argentina. We're going to do a big video going over the contenders and going over who wins the World Cup from here down the road. But I think this really opens up for Argentina. If I was Felipe Contepomi, I'd be quietly really happy with this draw.
It's fascinating because if these two teams played tomorrow, you'd probably back Ireland to win that game. Although it's hard because you can never write Argentina off.
I think if these two teams played in Dublin, even if the World Cup was in Dublin in 2 years' time, I would expect Ireland to win.
Yeah. However, World Cup
Neutral venue,
quarter-final.
in 2 years' time, I kind of quietly think Argentina have got a very good shout at this.
Yeah, with this Argentina team barking at you like dogs on the pitch. Like, honestly, you find it so hard to write them off, don't you? So that is such a tasty potential quarter-final. Anything can happen.
Would then play England, Australia, likely England. You're likely looking at England, then maybe Argentina as a semi-final, which is a lot of fun. Played in the bronze game last time out and the opening round.
Argentina need to show up if they make it to a semi-final.
Yeah.
Because Argentina at semi-finals is becoming like Ireland at quarter-finals, you know, that they have that hoodoo that's hanging over them. They've never made a final.
Other side of the draw,
Yes.
right? And this is where it gets exciting.
Spicy.
This is where it gets, spicy. South Africa, they're looking at another one of those third-place teams, which is a bit of a difficult concept, but that's a conversation for another time.
Sure.
They're looking at maybe, I'd say, Uruguay as their opponent, and then, if they win that, they'll play the winner of New Zealand against another third-place team, who will likely be Tonga, I'd imagine,
Something
maybe,
like
you
that,
know?
yeah.
So you're looking at then the quarter-final being South Africa versus New Zealand. So it blows the whole World Cup wide open.
So that's the crazy thing, is unless one of those two teams loses a pool game, or doesn't win their pool, we will only see one of New Zealand or South Africa make the semi-finals. And that's crazy because no matter, let's assume that is the quarter-final, no matter which of them loses that game, it will be considered like an all-time failure by their rugby public because these are two nations who expect the absolute top of the table, the very best and nothing less. You think New Zealand one time before have gone out in a quarter-final, 2007 against France, that is considered like the darkest day in New Zealand rugby. Like everything went wrong for them. And South Africa, they've just won 2 World Cups on the bounce, and they've dominated international men's rugby since then.
Think about the 2011 Australia quarterfinal. People are still angry about now.
Yeah.
Right? Because they were champions and they went out in the quarters.
Yeah.
And they're still, you know, the anger isn't determined towards the Springbok team. It's directed elsewhere.
Sure.
But there's still a lot of talk around that game, even having won 2 World Cups later.
Yeah.
The other side of that side of the draw, so we have Fiji and Wales, most likely, is the outcome there. Wales and Fiji play at every World Cup. If this falls, it'll move up to being the second most common World Cup fixture.
Wow.
Likewise, England v Tonga in this World Cup will become a joint third.
Wow.
They've played in 4 World Cups now. They basically play in every other World Cup.
Wow.
Is the case, which is kind of cool.
That's pretty mad.
So there's still some way to go before they catch up with the most common World Cup fixture, which is New Zealand versus Italy, which it looks like we're going to avoid this time. But
I forgot they always get drawn together.
yeah,
don't
and
they?
then Wales, Australia second.
Yeah.
Again, looks like we're going to avoid both of those, but we could get a repeat here. So Wales, Fiji, which would be a great game.
Yeah.
And again, that could go either way. That's maybe the
Again,
most open
if you're a
of
Welsh
those.
fan, you don't like that side of the draw. It's very stressful thought playing Fiji, even though Fiji have only beaten Wales men twice.
Yeah.
You know, it's always a banana skin. It's always a game that makes you incredibly stressed.
And then they would play the winner of a match between likely France and Scotland.
That is huge.
Scotland
2 tier 1 teams.
have got a really tough draw again. They've been screwed over again. And even though the round of 16 thing has saved them from going out to the pool stage for what? Like, they've gone out the pool stage, like, all but one of the last, like, 5 World Cups.
Yeah. Made it out in 2015. Otherwise, it's been a long time since.
Otherwise, 2023 out in the pools, 2019 out in the pools, 2011 out in the pools, 2007. No, Argentina knocked them out in the quarters. But
yeah. So it's been difficult for Scottish fans to swallow this, because they have had teams who are worthy of getting that one step further. And so they have probably the toughest route to the semis and final. I think the fact that they would have to not only make it out of that pool, I mean, the thing that they can do is beat Ireland. Like, that would make things a lot kinder to them. So that game, it's almost like doubly as big because it saves you a job and needing to go and play against France to get into a quarter-final.
Then Wales or Fiji, then South Africa, then the final.
Yeah. So in a way, Scotland versus Ireland is kind of the biggest game of the group stage.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, amongst others, but yeah.
Sure, but you know what I mean. That is a huge, like, heavyweight 2 tier 1 teams in the round of 16 is huge. But then, as you mentioned, there is potential here. If France, of course, win that and then win the potential quarter-final against Fiji or Wales, you could have set up a rematch of the 2023 best game of all time, arguably, South Africa against France as a World Cup semi-final, a proper grudge match. That game turned this into a real rivalry.
Yeah, that is the really, really exciting thing. I really wanted those two to be able to play each other again because that has been a game that's been talked about an awful lot. We obviously had that rematch with the red card and everything, and then France had a lot of lessons they had to learn, and now they get a chance to put them into action.
Yeah.
And a lot is being made by Springbok fans, the fact they've got a really tough draw. I think second to Scotland, they've got the toughest route to the final.
The All Blacks standing in your way is never nice, is it?
I mean, the All Blacks have got the same route to a final, right? It's just, do you find, like, whether they end up with Tonga or Uruguay is tougher?
Sure.
That's up for debate.
Of course, it also becomes about whether that puts some lead in the legs, playing against South Africa or New Zealand.
It didn't last time.
Yeah, and that is the argument, isn't it? Is that clearly they're well conditioned enough. And again, Rusty can change the team if he wants to. If his team are battered after beating the All Blacks in a quarter-final, he can change things around for the next game against France. I think, Scotland or whoever.
Look, if the South Africa team go on to do the three-peat and win a third World Cup in a row, I'll love it. It'll be one of the all-time great teams. I'll really enjoy watching it. At the same time,
they'd have to be called the all-time great team, wouldn't they?
They would be. And we'll be watching history, and it'd be like, that would be a fantastic thing to be watching. At the same time, I am kind of hoping we get a different name on the trophy. I would love it to be a new name, and that looks like France or Argentina are the most likely names at the moment.
Yeah.
Apologies to Zimbabwe, who I am backing to make at least the semis.
They'll win the World Cup in the way that we say teams win the World Cup.
But there is a real chance there, if New Zealand can knock out the Springboks, for France to open things up.
Yeah.
And France to go a long way. A France-Argentina final is not impossible. Yeah. But an England-South Africa final looks like the most likely outcome.
Yeah. Which is an incredible thought. And again, like, England have, again, like, I don't want to say it's the easiest route. I think it's the route that suits them the best.
Yes.
It's all games that, against teams that they're tried and tested against. Like, as much as Wales in the group stage is something that, as I say, like, some of the players will have had nightmares of since 2015, and Wales will be incredibly fired up. It's the easiest game to get up for in the world, even if Wales have been not very good. You know, that playing against your local rivals in a World Cup is like the easiest game to motivate yourself for. However, England play Wales every year. You know, all of these players pretty much will have gone to the World Cup, other than, you know, if somebody gets called up 6 months out, I guess. And depending on what happens in the next few years, Six Nations, everyone will have beaten Wales. Yeah. Everyone knows how to do it. Everyone knows where Wales are vulnerable. So it's very kind to England with that in mind.
So that is roughly a route through. I think it's a really exciting draw. I'm really happy with it. I think it's the best the World Cup's fallen a little bit.
Yeah. As I say, all the rivalries. Yeah. All the little games, and some of the big teams versus little teams are really exciting matchups.
Okay, I want to do this before we wrap up. We did 3.5 hours of talking about this in detail on the live stream. It's on the channel. You can go and have a look at that now in the live tab on the channel page.
Yeah.
If you're to pick out one game for the pool stage and one game for the knockout as the match you're most looking forward to from right now as we sit here, what would they be?
Okay, so predicting that these teams get to the knockouts, I would say
Yes.
the one for the knockouts, I would go New Zealand, South Africa as a quarter-final. It's as heavyweight as it
The
gets.
final doesn't count. We're just counting the final.
No, because that's way too hard to predict at this point. Because, all of this is so hard to predict. So if that falls that way, that would be the knockout I'm most excited for. In terms of a pool match I'm most excited for, I've got to say Wales v Zimbabwe. Yeah. It feels like same as we were saying about Fiji, Argentina. It feels like such an unlikely pair of teams to play against each other.
Yeah.
And I know I'm wearing a Zimbabwe shirt and I normally support Wales. So I guess, if I avoid that and I will instead say...
RFC.
Yes, yeah, very good. I would instead say maybe New Zealand v Hong Kong. Because again, the thought of these Hong Kong players, I love watching Matt Worley play and the thought of him trying to step Ardy Savir or Scott Barrett or something, and I say them staring down the haka and all of that. It genuinely gives me chills.
Obviously, New Zealand, South Africa, great matchup. But for me, knockouts, Ireland v Argentina. Yeah. Because that has been a real grudge match. That is a chance for an upset. Ireland will go in as favourites, but Argentina have a real chance to go deep in this competition.
Classic, isn't it?
It is. It feels like a game that we'll talk about for a long time to come. Yeah. In a way that, 2019, Springboks drew the All Blacks in the pool stage. That was great for the pool stage. We don't really talk about that game years down the line, do we? Right? I suppose this has knockout stakes on it, which will add something. But there is a chance for a proper fierce back and forth game there. And likewise, in the pool stage, there's two games that really stand out to me. One of those, Spain versus Fiji.
Yes!
That is going to be the highest scoring game of the tournament. In terms of mutual scores, they played a few weeks ago. Spain almost beat Fiji. So there's a chance for an upset there. And both teams so open, so attacking in their style. Both love to pass the ball a lot. So I expect the most entertaining game of the tournament there. Likewise, Uruguay v Portugal. Both teams will approach that as a bit of a final. Yeah. Both teams will go into that eager and excited to win a game. Uruguay won a game in the last 2 World Cups. They'll want to keep that streak up.
They have a lot to play for in this World Cup,
yeah.
Uruguay.
Portugal want to prove they weren't a flash in the pan. Both of those teams should be really up for it. I'm really excited about those 2 games.
Yeah. What a draw. What a World Cup we have in store. The big question is, why is it 2 years away?
Can we get on with it?
We've got World Cup fever now.
Can we get on with it?
Can we just pull it forward and just start it next week?
Can we start? No, I'm all right. I'd quite like a week off.
Okay, fair.
Can we start it in February?
Yeah, all right.
Or at least, in February.
We've got a deal.
Okay, if we can't start the World Cup, can we at least have maybe the European teams can all play each other?
Oh, okay. Yeah. They all play each other once.
Yeah.
And maybe have one break week in the middle.
Yeah.
And otherwise, they're just... Yeah, all right.
Yeah, so Georgia will play Wales and everyone else, and Italy and England, and Spain will get game time against everyone.
And then should we have a random global competition after that no one
idea.
really cares about? That,
I think that's pretty
excludes
good.
a few nations.
Yeah, I hope it's quite tedious.